Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to have a little chat about Armies on Parade, because they've changed it for this year. They've done a thing, a sensible thing, I feel. They have made it online as opposed to in person. So, as we can see, Armies Online Parade 2020. Participating in Armies on Parade is an annual tradition for many hobbyists. Typically build a display board and an army that fits onto it, and then bring it to your local Warhammer store to be judged, winners gaining fame and glory, so on and so forth. Fantastic way to show skills and progression year after year, and we know many use the deadline as motivation to finish a particular project. This year, however, is a little different. We want you to be safe, but we also want you to be involved, engaged, and inspired. To that end, the decision has been made to take the beloved annual painting competition online this year. So, it's time to get to work. You've got from now until the 29th of November to paint up a display board and army project to enter Armies on Parade online. The entry period will begin on the 2nd of November and last through to the 29th. Get ready to take some great pictures. Our judges will have a lot to look over, so pull out all the stops and make sure you're putting your absolute best work forward. And we'll have a look at some of the previous stunners, as they put it. So yeah, they're going to choose winners from several major categories, including settings of Age of Sigmar, 40k, and an overall winner for 2020, and then there'll be minor categories as well, and each and every one of them will be featured on the live show. There's going to be more information, and as they say, stock up. You got to stock up, so head to the nearest Warhammer shop, or if you wanted to, you could, you could use the affiliate link in the description to support the channel. I don't tend to do that very often. If ever there was an appropriate time to plug that link, I feel like that line there, that was the one. That's the one for the year. I won't do it again. Now, previous entries, to be honest, there is definitely an intimidation factor to Armies on Parade, because it's not just a case of having a nicely painted army, something which I personally feel that I was not even capable of until maybe about 6 months ago. It's also the board. Board is a massive part of it, as you can see, but honestly, having looked more into that side of things, I think it's one of those things that is probably a bit more, I'm not going to say easier than it looks, but more approachable than it seems. Still tricky, and still a lot of work to get the actual finish and placement and kind of scene that you're looking for, but it's not quite the arcane art, the mystical kind of project that it once was to me. That is a really good one though. Although there are things, love a bit of orc scenery. Massive gun on top of that little tower is cool. There are things that, frankly, not a chance in hell I'm going to attempt. Things like what looks like on there a rather fancy resin pour there to make a kind of a kind of rivery, pondy, streamy thing with the Dark Angels logo in there. That's maybe a bit beyond me, but I do like looking at that kind of thing. It's just not something I'm going to attempt for a first try, because that would be mad. Also, do love a bit of Deathwing. Who doesn't? It's all Terminators. What more could you want? So I'm super happy that they've actually decided to continue with this, and just, I will say, carry on as normal. It's not really as normal since it's online only, but I feel like this is going to open it up to more people. I know people who would like to do things like Armies on Parade, but there are things that prevent them from doing it. I mean, in this specific instance, in this year, it's of course as a result of the pandemic and the absolute utter ball ache that has caused. Like, the last 6 months have been the longest 5 years of our lives, I think, collectively. I get that that's why they've done it, but I think there is like a nice unintended knock-on effect where it's going to open it up to more people. It also means that people are going to be able to enter where previously they would not have been able to due to other commitments. I know a few people who would love to do stuff like this, but they reasonably can't because of health issues. They can't make the journey. They can't be kind of out there for an unknown amount of time. It's not something that's really that feasible for them. Doing it online like this means it is. They can work on the board. They don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to travel. They don't have to be away from, the stuff that they need. They can just take pictures, send them in. Same thing with things like work commitments. I can't remember who it was, but there was someone last year who was like all geared up and ready to go, and then they had to work. And so all of the work they did building up to it, all of the stuff they did, they pushed themselves, they got to the deadline, and then it was just a case of, well, I've been called into work, so no Armies on Parade for me. Doing it this way doesn't just mean that there isn't that kind of added risk of like transmission or infection. It doesn't just mean that people are being kept, safer than if they did go out and mingle more than they needed to. It also means there are people who are just going to get to enter who previously wouldn't. And to be honest, I'm counting myself among those people, because this is one of those things where I've thought about it before and I've had ideas before, but realistically it's never felt feasible for a good number of reasons. I mean, primarily, again, the thing of the chances are on the day I might not even be able to make it. That is not a consideration this year. That's not something I've got to worry about. I don't like the idea of kind of pushing all the way through to get to a deadline and then going, well, I can't use it. That's it. It's gone. It's done. So that's it, I suppose. That is now gone, that consideration. There is also like the social side of things as well. One of the things I've talked about very briefly occasionally on the channel is like going to Warhammer World and doing meetups with friends and stuff. I love doing that, but it also fills me with like full-on anxiety. I've had anxiety for years. It's part of the issue with depression that I've had for years, but I can generally scrape by. I'm alright. I started to shut down after a while, which is why if, as a couple of people will attest, I start out, like when we're playing 40k at Warhammer World, especially if it's a longer game, I start out fine and knowing what I'm doing, and then I slowly degrade over time as more people show up. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like parts of my brain just go, nah, I'm out. No, you've had it now. There's too many people around here. I'm just going to shut myself off for a bit, and you can just deal with it, which is fine, but if you need to concentrate on stuff and remember how things work, not ideal. The added pressure of having, like, a thing you've worked on for ages, and then taking it to the place, and then other people looking at it next to all the other things that other people have made, and then people going round and specifically looking at all the things in turn and judging them compared to everything else. That's why you're there. That is the whole point. It is a competition. It is something that you have entered into knowing that your stuff will be judged, based on everything else around it. But that still doesn't mean that there isn't a good chance that if you have some sort of issue with anxiety, you might just sit there going, oh, this was a terrible, terrible mistake. What the hell am I even doing here? That very much goes away if all you're doing is taking pictures and sending them to an email address. If you're just going, okay, I've built the thing, I've made the thing, oh, I don't have to go anywhere. Oh, I can put it on the dining room table, get a bit of light on it. Speaking of which, actually, that is the one thing that could be tricky with this. That is the one thing that could be difficult, because trying to take decent photos of individual models can at times be a pain. It can be a real issue to actually show off what you've done properly. God knows I've put enough pictures on Twitter and on the community tab of the channel where people have gone, oh, you've gone for blue and orange. And I'm like, no, it's blue and pink. The pink is really quite bright, vibrant pink. But the lights in this room, they're like daylight lights. So they have a yellowy, orangey tint to them. They're not like pure white, which messes with the colour. So when you take a picture of the thing you've done, it's not the actual colours you've used. It's what you're seeing under these lights, which tint it different shades. That's something that I've got round by getting a light box, but funnily enough, I don't think an Armies on Parade board is going to fit in the light box that I've got over there. It is not that big, it is not that massive. I'm not going to fit the whole thing in there, so that's going to be the only issue. I think there's going to be some hasty buying of things like LED panels and so on that allow you to actually light the board properly. That's going to be the main issue and the main thing that could make it a little unfair. People with a really good lighting setup could well get much better pictures. It's also the question of cameras. The better quality camera you have, the better quality the picture's going to be. If you've got like an older phone, then that's going to have an impact on how good your board looks when you're sending your pictures in. If you've got a decent, camera on your phone, or you've got like a brand new phone with some sort of mad... Well, speaking of which, actually, since this arrived yesterday, I need to work out how to use the camera on this thing, because this is borderline wizardry to me. I've got no idea how this works. There's like 5 individual things on it. I feel like an old man looking at this, because I don't know how it works. I need to make sure I know how it works, because otherwise, when I take a picture of the board, it's going to be blurry and out of focus, and it's going to look naff. That is the main concern. That is the one thing that is perhaps going to make this more tricky than a standard year. It's going to be very dependent on individual photographs and individual photography skill and the availability of equipment to those people. That being said, I think that downside is outweighed by the more people being able to get into it, more people being able to enter, it opening it up to more people who otherwise would not be able to either make the journey or perhaps have concerns that mean they just are not physically capable of getting to the place required to take part in this. It's overall a good thing, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing just how many people go for it this time round. It's already popular, it's already big. It has been for years. This could really open it up to a lot more people who are otherwise interested but not really able to give it a go. So yeah, I'm pretty happy that they've decided to make that decision, keep it going and shift it to online. Now, before we end the video, our shout out for the week is Dana Howell. She is an amazing content creator. She does really good tutorials. Her channel is fantastic and has an aesthetic that I fully appreciate, as you can probably tell from the switches that I've made on this particular channel, which were largely influenced by her. She's lovely, she does great painting, great tutorials. I really suggest you go and take a look at her channel. There will be a link in the description down below. Yeah, she's good, you should check her out. Question is, are you going to be doing anything for Armies on Parade? Have you got a plan? Were you going to go for it anyway? Or have you decided that because it's online only, this is your year to give it a try? Be interested to know how many of you are like, okay, if this is how it's working, now I'm in. Now I want to take part and I want to try this. Let me know in the comments down below if you've got any plans to enter and what you're going to enter with. If you want to tease a little bit, just a little tease. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things. Patreon video. It'd be lovely if you could subscribe. You don't have to. It's entirely up to you. And as previously mentioned, there is an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you like, but it's not compulsory. Obviously, do whatever you want. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.